welcome to Good Game Well Played. I'm Rad and I'm filling in for Hingers while he's away at the Melbourne International Comedy Festival. Think of me as a steward of the throne. Like Denethor from Lord of the Rings. If I make it to next week without trying to set my son on fire, setting myself on fire, then leaping from the highest point of Minas Tirith, I'm gonna chalk it up as a victory. Hingers will be along later in the show to bring us another story from Team Legacy's Pro Gaming House. But first, the news. In CSGO news, Team Immunity have withdrawn from the Cyber Games Premier League finals. Unfortunately, this has put Immunity in breach of CGPL's conditions of entry, which state that teams would attend LAN if they qualified. As a result, Immunity have been banned from all Cybergamer events and leagues for one season. Immunity posted on their Facebook page saying they withdrew due to the fact that an international tournament we have been invited to coincides with the CGPL LAN finals. They also denied any wrongdoing, saying they were transparent through this entire process and notified CG within hours of our invite. It seems like getting banned was the one thing they weren't immune from. Also, in CSGO news, MLG Columbus brought 16 teams together to play off in best of threes. The semi-final between Liquid and Luminosity was a highlight of the series, with Luminosity taking game one after a back and forth that seemed as endless as day versus night. coldzera's pro plays were lit, blazing through Liquid between jumps with brilliant AWP aim. Game 2 was also dazzling, with Liquid securing a 5-0 lead. But despite it looking like lights out, Luminosity found their spark in overtime, eventually defeating Liquid to meet Na'Vi in the final. It was over in a flash, as Luminosity continued to outshine everyone, winning 2-0. Brilliant work, guys. You really have a flair for this. Your talent burns so bright. Light bulb. The League of Legends Oceanic Pro League Split 1 Grand Finals have just wrapped up. Legacy took on Chiefs in the best of 5 for a spot at the International Wildcard Invitational, as well as 16,000 Aussie dollary dues. Legacy fought hard, clawing their way back from being down 0-2 to push it to 5 games. But Raiders Callista was just too good, and Chiefs managed to secure the decider. There's nothing I love more than an entire team getting cleaned up by a Spectre woman with a big spear. The 2016 Heroes of the Storm Spring Global Championship has just played out in Seoul. MVP Black continue to dominate the hot scene, making it look easy against Edward Gaming by winning the best of 5 final 3-0. They walk away with $150,000 in sweet cash money, and a golden baseball bat trophy that looks like a relic from a movie where everyone who touches it dies. It seems that this time, the hots were had for Team Black, and not Team Cullen. Team Cullen. I'll miss you. AliSports, the sporting division of Chinese superstore Alibaba, has just announced a giant event called the World Electronic Sports Games. World Electronic Sports Games. Look, not a great name, but they tried. In a media release, AliSports has stated that they'll be putting up a global prize pool of $5.5 million, launching 1,200 events this year across 15 cities in China. They go on to say that they aim to create a regulated scene that will help develop esports on a global scale. A tweet by ESL reporter Oren Zhu claims they're putting up $300,000 for Hearthstone, $400,000 for StarCraft 2, and $1.5 million each for CSGO and Dota 2. It must be nice to wake up in the morning and decide you're gonna throw millions of dollars into a pit and watch people fight over it. I know that that's what I'd do if I was a millionaire. There is a link to a translation of the full announcement in the description below if you want to have a read, and I do recommend. It is quite interesting. And if you're looking for a piece of tasty esports pie, and you're a MechWarrior Pro, then the MechWarrior Online World Championship signups are now open. The 8v8 tournament will have its finals in Vancouver, Canada in December, offering a $100,000 prize pool. Organizers Piranha Games have also noted all world final matches in Vancouver will be played with identical machines and identical hardware. If you rely on a specific mouse or accessory for your tournament matches, you will not have the luxury of relying on these items in the world finals. Well, that rules me out then. Dang it. I really had a shot. Now that the news is over, onto the wacky world of old mate Hingers. During his time in Team Legacy's esports gaming house, Hing has had the opportunity to speak to sports psychologist Dr. Mike Martin about applying his profession to the brave new world of esports.
Thanks for sitting down with us, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.
Have you ever coached an esports team before?
Never.
No.
Never, but really the principles of high performance thinking apply equally in esports as they do in any other elite sport.
Have you had to learn a lot about League of Legends in order to coach it?
What I learn is I learn from the players, because I could never be at the level that they are at. And so
give it a go.
I've worked with over 60 different sports, and I've never won a gold medal in any of those, but I've worked with world champions, world record holders, Olympic gold medalists, and I ask them what it is that they need to focus on. So while I have a general understanding of League of Legends, I've never played it, I don't understand it, but the clients, the team here are the experts. And so, my expertise is around the structure of the thinking. Their expertise is in the playing of the game.
Why would an esports team need a sports psychologist?
Yeah, because these guys are playing on a huge field in terms of so many, nearly 30 million players daily around the world in this game, and these are some of the best. And so because they're some of the best, that also means that there's pressure, there's their own expectations about performing well, there's outside expectations on them about performing well from sponsors, from coaches, from team managers. So there's a lot of psychological pressure on them to continue to perform at that high level. So that in any other traditional sporting arena would require psychological support and input. And so that's what's happening here, that this esports team have made that decision to support their players and to help them to perform at their peak on a consistent basis.
So in terms of training, what can psychology teach us about best practices in preparation for a match?
Yeah, so if you're practicing 40 or 50 hours a week, you've got to be careful that you don't slip into junk practice, that you need to make sure that you do quality practice. And so that means, working on your technical skills. It also means bringing some psychological, some mental application at times. How you practice will replicate how you play. If you are multitasking while you're playing, that's going to impact on your competition performance. So quality practice is the key to getting results under pressure at competition.
So with traditional sports, it's a given that an athlete will be at the peak of their physical fitness.
Yep.
From my own experience, that's not necessarily the case with esports.
And it should be. It should be, because one of the things that we've just seen recently, a big study's come out from the Sports University of Cologne in Germany, which shows heart rates of around 160 to 180 beats a minute. So that's like being a marathon runner. The players that they looked at in their study had really high cortisol levels, so that's an indicator of stress. So again, that really points to the use of psychological skills to be able to deal with the stress, the pressure. When you're sitting down in front of 120,000 people in Los Angeles at the Staples Arena, and everyone's got their focus of attention on you, and you're on the big screen, then that can create a lot of nasty stories inside your own head and stuff that can actually destroy your focus from you playing to the best of your ability.
Because the stereotype, I guess, is like, jocks versus nerds, right? That's like the traditional stereotype, right? And jocks are like these big muscly guys who might be empty upstairs or whatever, and nerds like these scrawny little guys who are like real smart, is the stereotype, right? And so I think a lot of people watching would think like, well, these guys are going to be super smart because they're nerds, they're nerds, In terms of like just brain power, I guess, have you noticed the difference at all with that?
I think the future of esports is really the marriage of the jock and the nerd. The jock because of that marathon comparison, the high heart rates, and the nerd because of that ability to really focus in and do the sorts of things that we need to be done to play well. But again, that's not an unusual marriage, in that's what happens in other elite sports, that there's bodies with brains, and that's how they get results. It's typically not just raw physical talent. They need technical and tactical and strategic skills, and that's exactly what these guys are bringing to esport.
In terms of communication, in traditional sports, you would often be across the field from someone and you couldn't necessarily let them know exactly what you're thinking or feeling because you're are far away. But in video games, often you're on comms with people throughout the entire match.
Yep.
So what should that communication look like?
Yeah, so obviously that's an advantage and a disadvantage. And so one of the things that we've really been discussing is the standardisation of the calls within the team, so that there's no misspeaking, there's no miscommunication. So once those calls are really standardised, that allows athletes to not become distracted by what did they say, did I hear the right thing? And again, in defence, who find themselves in far higher life-threatening situations than gamers, they have a process of very standardised communication, and so that's really what we're trying to bring with these guys as well.
So on a week where the team win, they're going to have a celebratory time, they're going to feel great.
Yep.
What do you do when they lose?
Yeah, so we're really about, you don't have to feel good to play well. That's a traditional myth that is out there in the broader community, which within our team we're trying to dispel. It's a traditional belief, but we're doing something countercultural to that. We're saying, who cares how you feel? What we're concerned about is them playing to the best of their ability. And I don't say that in a coarse or callous way, but you can become distracted by your own emotions and steer away from focusing on the quality training that's required. So instead of spending 3 days sulking, what we're really trying to do is to talk about what's next, how can you improve, what worked well, what are you ready for in terms of improvement, and getting back on track. Because again, at the end of the day, it's high quality performance that makes the world for these guys, that gets them the prize money, that gets them higher profile. So it's all about getting on with the job.
Thanks so much for talking to us.
Great, thanks Mike.
Thanks, Hingers, and thanks to everyone for your comments on last week's episode. It was a little bit controversial, but most people managed to keep it super respectful and lovely, which was just awesome. I had some really thoughtful chats with some of you, and it just warmed my little stone cold heart. And to everyone who turned up just to be a dick, thanks for watching. Until next time, if you have a game or event that you'd like to see covered, you can tweet it to me at HungHardYo or leave it in the comments below. Until next time, don't be toxic on the internet. Rat out!